Hey friends. I'm back with another update. First off, I'm going to start with the belly bump today. Just switching things up a little bit, but there's a method to my madness. There is my beautiful girl in there somewhere. But the reason that I wanted to bring attention to the bump first is because I'm wearing a shirt that you can see is like got holes all over it. It's barely even a shirt at this point. It's like basically a rag with a plan because it's got sleeves, etc. But yeah, this is a very, very old shirt. I've had this shirt for probably close to 15 years now. And the reason I'm wearing it today is because I've had this shirt saved for a decade at least without wearing it, simply and solely because I have a belly bump photo of myself at 30 weeks pregnant with my son. And I got rid of most of my maternity clothes, or like most of my clothes from back then, period, because it was a long time ago, and as you could see, these clothes haven't really held up to the test of time. But I kept this shirt in particular with the intent of one day, whenever I'm pregnant again, I'm gonna take a belly bump photo of myself at 30 weeks wearing this same shirt so that I can do a side-by-side of both my kids. And today is the day. I've had this shirt sitting out on like my computer chair or my desk chair or whatever for weeks, for months at this rate, because as soon as it was apparent that this baby was gonna stick, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, it's time. And it's gonna be ages from now, but soon, eventually, sooner than I think, I'll be 30 weeks pregnant and I'll be able to put on this shirt again and take my photo. And today is that day. I'm 30 weeks pregnant today. I'm tired of hearing myself say how amazing and unbelievable this whole situation is, but it really is just unbelievable that we're here right now. Sorry, I didn't mean to start getting all emotional like off rip, but it's been a lot. There's been a lot going on this week. I'm gonna try my best to kind of jump right into it because it's a very busy day today and I want to make sure that I don't rush through the video, but there is a lot that I want to talk about. So 30 weeks, right? I said I was going to talk about the doula meeting. So that went well last week. We discussed my whole like birth plan sheet. She's on board with everything. We discussed like further what each bullet point or what each check mark on my list meant to me and what it might mean to the hospital and how she could best support me through these choices. And I was actually concerned because she kept telling me the meeting has to be at least an hour long in order for me to be able to bill it to the insurance. And I'm here thinking, it's a very simple 3-page worksheet. Like, how are we going to stretch that into an hour? We ended up talking for almost an hour and a half. So I felt very good walking away from that conversation. I feel like I've made a good choice, not only in getting a doula, but in getting this particular doula. So far so good. And she did let me know that she's not yet delivered or helped support a delivery in the hospital that I will be delivering at. But it so happens I'm due at the end of the month, and early in the month she has 2 mamas that are going to be delivering there. So she will have experience with the hospital, their policies, etc. by the time it's my turn. So that's a very lucky coincidence for me. I'm going to try, like I said, it's a busy day today, but I'm going to try to record kind of like me going through that birth plan and detailing what each of those bullet points mean and why I made those choices, etc. later on today. So if I'm able to do that, then the next video you guys see will be me discussing my birth plan. If I'm not, then the next video you see will be my week 31 update, and hopefully eventually I'll get around to doing a birth plan video for you all. And speaking of the doula, she helped me out this week. A couple days ago, I did some exercise for the first time in honestly about a month. At the beginning of the pregnancy, I was still sticking to daily workouts, or for the most part, daily workouts. Pre-pregnancy, I was working out 30, 45, 60 minutes a day, consistently without skipping ever. It felt good for me. It was something I looked forward to. And so I exercised all the time. As I got into the first trimester and started getting really tired and feeling sick, that kind of dwindled a little bit, but I was still exercising more frequently than not. Into the second trimester, I think realistically I probably exercised like once or twice a week. And in the last like month or so, like I said, I hadn't exercised at all. I'm busy, I'm tired, I could give you 1,000 excuses, but I just hadn't done it. So I decided a couple days ago that I was gonna do 15 minutes of a video that I used to do 60 minutes of, no problem. And so I thought 15 minutes, it's a quarter of it, right? I think that's a good place to, that's a good goal to have. I don't think I'm overdoing it by doing 15 minutes. And I felt great during the actual exercise, but an hour or so after I finished exercising, I started to feel kind of crampy. And then I started getting little tiny sharp pains, really, really low in my uterus. And so I messaged my doula and I told her what was going on. She told me, you're not bleeding, which is great. Just lay down, do a kick count, and get back to me. Let me know how long it takes you to get 10 movements. So I did that. It took an hour and like 5 minutes or an hour and 10 minutes, which is slower than I would have liked, but still normal. And she said, listen, very likely it's just that you overdid it with the exercise. So it sounds like you're okay. It sounds like baby's okay. Like she talked me through the whole thing. She calmed me down and said, don't worry. Like I said, it's probably just that you overdid the exercise. Tomorrow morning you'll feel good as new, but I think you're fine. So that was fine, okay, thank you for that reassurance. But then I was watching ER and somebody on ER had like a second trimester miscarriage, and then that freaked me out. And then literally 15 minutes after that, I opened my phone and I'm scrolling Facebook or something, and a video pops up that says, this is Fulanita, and she had her baby at 33 weeks, but luckily he survived because she did not ignore the signs of, I don't even know what, because I shut the video off at that point. But all of these outside messages made me really anxious, and so I called my mom. My husband had already told me, like, do you want to go to the hospital and get checked out just for some peace of mind? And I kept insisting, no, I don't want to do that. There's norovirus going around right now, and of course COVID, and like I don't know how many different kinds of flu, and so I don't want to potentially expose us to all that stuff when the doula says I'm fine, and it's probably everything's just fine. It's probably just third trimester pains, But then, like I said, all these outside messages kind of got to me, and so I said, you know what, I have to go get checked out, because I'm not going to be able to sleep just thinking about like potentially everything's fine. But what if it's not? And I'm ignoring signs that I need help, And so I have to do this. So I called my mom. My mom, she had woken up like at 4 a.m. to take my brother to the airport. And so it was really bad timing. I felt terrible. I cried the whole way to the hospital, just telling her, I know this is stupid. I know that this is, unnecessary, but I feel like I have to. And she kept reassuring me, you have to. If you feel like you have to, then we have to. And it's fine. And, don't worry about it. So we got there and they set me up with a monitor for about an hour, which was super uncomfortable because I had to lay on my side. I didn't have a pillow, so I had to basically lean like this the whole time. And I was on the monitor for about 45 minutes to an hour. I didn't have my phone. I didn't have a pillow. My mom was not allowed in the room with me for some reason that whole time. So I was just sitting in silence, really physically uncomfortable for 45 minutes. But I heard her heartbeat super, super strong. I kept hearing her whooshing away from the monitor and kicking the monitor, which was really funny. And then they eventually did an ultrasound. They did both an abdominal and a vaginal because they wanted to check my cervix, make sure my cervix was closed and long and all the things that it's supposed to be right now. And I didn't get to see anything of the ultrasound. They didn't show me anything, which makes sense because in a hospital setting, an emergency setting, by the way, I went to the ER thinking they would, provide service at the ER, but actually I was seen at the labor and delivery floor. which makes sense, but it just didn't even occur to me that that's what would happen. I guess because I'm this far along. So, yeah, so they did the scan. I didn't get to see any of it. They didn't tell me anything, which again, I think makes sense because in a hospital setting, if something's wrong, they don't want to be the one to tell me something's wrong. They want the doctor to be the one that comes in and says, this is what's wrong, and so this is what we're going to do about it. So luckily, everything's fine. She's fine. I'm fine. My cervix is long and closed. My water, my amniotic level is good. They did tell me, the initial nurse that saw me told me that my urine sample was basically clear. And like it looked like I had just poured water from the sink into the cup. And I told her, yeah, it's just that like I was really, really thirsty before we left the house. So I took down 24 ounces of water literally right before I got here. And so that's why I guess my pee is so clear. And she asks me, have you had any cramping since you've been here? And I told her, actually, now that I think about it, no, I haven't. And she said, okay, so probably what happened was not just that you overdid it on the exercise, but you were probably dehydrated. Not so dehydrated where you like need an IV or anything, but dehydrated enough that it was causing you issues. So up your water intake. Next time you have cramping, if you have cramping, drink some water, lay down and relax for a while. And if it doesn't go away, obviously come back. If ever you're in doubt, come back. It's better to be checked out and be safe than to not. But very likely that's what you were experiencing. It's just that you needed more water and you need to take it easy on the exercise. I don't know how much easier it gets than 15 minutes. I know it's high intensity dance what I do, so I guess I could opt for a different kind of exercise. But yeah, that all happened. And that was very scary. But luckily, like I said, everybody's fine. And the last thing regarding the doula is that she did advise me. I've had a pregnancy ball, birth ball, what have you, for months now, but I hadn't blown it up yet, mostly because I wasn't sure what to do with it. It comes with a huge thick book of like exercises and things, but I don't want to go based on a book. I want to go based on like me personally, what should I be doing? So the doula told me, your homework is by week 30, which is today, have the ball blown up. And for now, I just want you to sit on it. Like, you don't have to be worried about exercise or bouncing or, you know, pelvis tilts or hip rotations, nothing like that. For now, just sit on it. Build up to an hour a day. And I'm thinking, build up to it, build up to sitting. Like, okay. So we blew it up last night. I sat in it for about 20 minutes. And let me tell you, my hips were screaming at the end of that 20 minutes. Like halfway through, my hips were screaming because it kind of forces your hips open in a way that I hadn't experienced since I was like doing yoga hardcore in like 2020, 2021. And it was intense. It was an intense stretch. And so I see now why we need to build up to it. And I also see the benefit for sure as far as birth, because it's literally opening your hips and your pelvis. And so she told me the next time she talks to me, which will be, I think, like mid-February, at that point, she'll advise me on what exercises I should try. But for now, she just wants me to sit. So sitting and stretching my hips on it. And I definitely, so far, see how it's going to be effective. So that's something that I'm doing too. If you want one for yourself, I'm going to post mine in the description box in case you want to check it out. So the last thing is, let's open up our app and see what's what here. The baby is as big as Slinky Dog, okay, as big as a snorkel set, as big as a big bunch of grapes. That's so arbitrary. As big as a beet, including the leaves, and as big as Winnie the Pooh's red balloon. None of these things are particularly concrete, so, okay. Updates about myself and my body. Okay, so this is about the baby. How big is baby at 30 weeks? She's now weighing in at about 3 pounds. That's what the ultrasound said as well, because she did give me an ultrasound report to bring to my OB. So the scan did say that she was just over 3 pounds. Ultrasounds are really, really unreliable, in particular when it comes to weight and sizes like that. So I'm not banking on it, but it does coincide with what the app says she should be at right now. She'll be packing on weight at a rate of roughly 0.5 pound per week for the next 7 weeks. Baby's brain is taking on characteristic grooves and indentations and is no longer smooth. Lanugo, which is the downy, like thin hair that covers the baby's body to like regulate temperature and stuff, is beginning to disappear. So that's pretty cool. Bone marrow is making red blood cells. That's nuts. Okay, so this is obviously, there's an important step because it's something that she's going to need in order to be able to thrive when she's like out and, you know, on her own. So that's nuts. That is what hypothetical baby looks like inside my hypothetical womb. Oh, she is also, by the way, head down, because I asked literally, is she head down right now? And they were like, yeah, she is. I'm like, okay, I can tell because I always feel really, really down low, basically like rolling or fluttering or like those types of things, but I never feel kicks down low. My kicks are always like all the way up here. And that's because her feet are all the way up here. So what I'm feeling down low is her head and like her little hands and stuff. Many of the early pregnancy symptoms you thought were behind you are coming back to haunt you to some extent. That's very true. I told my husband legit yesterday morning, man, I feel like I'm in the first trimester all over again. Anytime I eat, I want to take a nap right after. I'm having a super hard time sleeping. I'm exhausted all day. I actually threw up yesterday for the first time in months. Like very early in the morning, I had to throw up. It's all hitting me all at once. And then sure enough, the app is like, hey, guess what? That's what's supposed to be happening right now. Pregnancy heartburn, tender breasts. That never really went away from me, to be honest. The heartburn has eased up plenty. It just depends. Like obviously if I eat something spicy, which I do eat a lot of spicy food, I do get heartburn more frequently. But I think because I'm not sleeping, I'm not going to bed with my belly full. Going to bed with my belly full is almost a guarantee for heartburn. So it's happening, but not frequently, not constantly. I felt like with my son, it was constant. And that seems to be pretty much it. Baby's hands are now fully formed and fingernails are growing. You might be able to catch baby grabbing a foot in an ultrasound. Reminding me to do kick counts. I have been doing kick counts and they've been going fine. Today, in a few hours actually, we're going to see the OB again, and I have quite a few questions for her. I want to ask her, first off, I need to talk to her about the breast pump insurance situation because the medical supply company reached out to me. Remember last time I saw an OB, it wasn't my OB, it was a different one. But I said, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling on this insurance covering the breast pump thing. They reached out to me and said, we got the order. These are your options. And they told me basically, here's a handheld one that costs $30 and here's an electric one that costs like $50. So they're really like low grade garbage pumps. They're not, definitely not hospital grade, but they're not even like middle of the road pumps, like the kind I used with my son, which was not a great pump. It's like garbage crap, like at least it's free, basically, type quality. So they did tell me that if the doctor prescribes a specific pump, then they can do that. But otherwise, I am going to just be offered this like low quality stuff. So I'm going to talk to her about that today. Because I was such a severe underproducer with my son, I want to make sure that I'm set up for success. And so either way, I'm going to end up getting at least a middle of the road pump, if not better. But if the insurance will cover it, obviously all the better for me, right? So I'm going to talk to her about that. I want to let her know about the hospital visit and how that went. I want to ask her about baby's movement patterns because there's a lot of time during the day where I feel like I don't feel her whatsoever. And the doula says that it's very likely for two reasons. One, I'm very busy. It's not like with my son, when I was pregnant with my son, I was working an office job and I was literally just sitting all day. So I felt him moving all the time because I was not active. These days, I'm running around after a child and I'm just all over the place. So it's possible that A, my movements are lulling her to sleep. And also, B, I'm so busy that even if she is moving, I might not be like clocking it because there's other stuff going on. So it's possible that she is moving just fine and consistently, and I'm just not aware of it. Or it's possible that she really isn't moving all that much, but it's because I'm constantly rocking her to sleep, basically. So I want to talk to her about that and make sure that that's correct. And I also want to ask her about my baby aspirin regimen, because she asked me to start baby aspirin, I think around week 16. And I was supposed to be taking one baby aspirin every day. I've been doing one every other day because I've never had a problem with my blood pressure, etc., etc. And the jury is out on whether aspirin during pregnancy does more harm than good or does more good than harm. So I feel like I struck a good compromise with just doing one every other day. This is not medical advice. Don't do this yourself unless you talk to your doctor and clear it with them first. But I'm getting a lot of conflicting information about how long I'm supposed to take the aspirin. The OB that I spoke to last month said take it throughout. Take it literally until delivery. The doula said, which is what I thought and what I've heard online, etc., that you should stop it at 36 weeks, because if I do need to have an emergency C-section or something of the like, the aspirin obviously makes your blood thinner. That's the point. That's what it's supposed to be doing. But having thinner blood means you're likelier to bleed out or hemorrhage. And so typically I thought the advice was take it up until such a time, so that way your body has a chance to your blood is not so thin by the time delivery comes around, and then you don't have to worry about that being a complication. So I'm going to talk to my doctor today and see what she says about that. And that's pretty much it. So the next time I talk to you guys, either it'll be a birth plan video, like my birth plan review, I suppose, or it'll be the week 31 update. Either way, the week 31 update is coming. But when that happens, I'm going to be talking about not only what happened in the coming week, but also I'll let you guys know what the doctor said as far as all my questions and stuff. So that is week 30. We're in the 30s. We have less than 10 weeks now until baby's here. Less than 70 days. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I need to start thinking about maternity leave as far as kiddos therapies and what that's going to look like. I've already talked to his behavior therapy provider about that, and so I know where they stand. But the other provider, which is where he does his occupational, physical, and speech therapies, I haven't discussed it with them yet. We've been with them for over a decade, so I'm hoping that they'll be a little flexible with us. But that's definitely something that I want to talk about with my husband and then talk about with them, so that everybody's on the same page. But maybe we'll discuss that next week. So for now, thank you guys as always for being here. Thank you for being on this journey with me. And yeah, I'm excited to continue to share it all with you guys. So thanks again, and we'll talk again really soon. Bye.